everyone, and today we are going to start with Geography Chapter 2 of Class 9, which is Physical Features of India. So as we all know, India is a very diverse country with different types of vegetation, wildlife, people, languages and everything. So in this chapter we are going to learn about 6 different physical features of India, which include the Himalayan Mountains, the northern plains, the Peninsula Plateau, islands, deserts and the coastal plains. So let's begin with the Himalayan Mountains. These mountain ranges run from west to east, that means from Indus to Brahmaputra. These are the most loftiest and the most rugged mountain ranges, which has an arc of over 2,400 km in north, and its width is 400 km in Kashmir and 150 km in Arunachal Pradesh. That means it is more in east and less in western side. The mountain ranges are more in eastern side than the western side. So now we can divide these mountain ranges into 3. If we divide it by the heights of the mountains, we can divide it by Himadri, Himachal and Shivalik. So under Himadri, we can say it Great or Inner Himalayas. These are the most continuous ranges of the most loftiest peaks, which have an average height of about 6,000 meters. It has all the most prominent peaks, including the Mount Everest. The folds in these mountains are very asymmetrical. They have no symmetry in nature, and all the glaciers descend from here, which flow down in the form of perennial rivers. The core of this Himadri is composed of granite, and they are perennially snow-bound all the time of the year. The second classification is Himachal. We call it Lesser Himalayas also. These are the most rugged mountain system, which are composed of highly compressed and alterated rocks. Altitude of the mountains in this range are about 3,700 meters to 4,500 meters, and the width here is about 50 kilometers. Some of the most important ranges in Himachal are Pirpanjal Range, Dauladhar Range, Mahabharat Ranges, and the famous valleys of Kashmir, Kagra and Kullu in Himachal Pradesh is the most famous hill station here. The last classification is Shivalik. We call it foothills of Himalayas also. The width of these ranges and the mountains is 10 to 40 kilometers, and the altitude is about 900 to 1,100 meters. This Shivalik is composed of all the unconsolidated sediments brought by the rivers to the banks. Valleys here are covered with thick gravel and alluvium. So here you have the concept of dunes. Dunes are the longitudinal valleys lying in between some variations of the Himalayas. Some of the well-known dunes are Dehradun, Patli Dun and Kutli Dun. Other than classifying the Himalayas based on their heights or the altitudes, we can also classify them according to based on their areas. From this to that area particularly, these Himalayas are called something. So here, instead of writing big paragraphs, I have made a diagrammatic representation for you to understand it well. So let's start. The Himalayas that lie in between the Indus and the Satluj River are known as Punjab Himalayas or Kashmir Himalayas or Himachal Himalayas. So remember all this, it's important. Then the Himalayas lying in between the Satluj and the Kali River are known as Kumaon Himalayas. Then the Himalayas lying in between the Kali and the Testa River is known as Nepal Himalayas. And then the Himalayas lying between the Testa and the Dihang River is known as Assam Himalayas. So you can refer the diagrams and the photos that are displayed at the sites. Now here you have one more important range to run, which is known as Purvanchal Range. These are the eastern hills or eastern mountains. These are known as the eastern hills or eastern mountains. Beyond the Dihang River, as we saw, we started to classify the Himalayas from Indus. Then we went to Satluj, Kali, Testa and Dihang. So beyond the Dihang River, these Himalayan mountain ranges, they bend sharply towards the south and then they spread along the eastern boundary of India, along the eastern state. And these ranges are called as Purvanchal ranges. These are composed of sandstones and all the sedimentary rocks. Some of the most important hills here are Patki Hills, Mizo Hills, Naga Hills and Manipur Hills. By the names you can understand that these are in the eastern side of the country. So with this we come to an end of the Himalayan Mountains concept, and now let's take a smaller concept of the Indian desert to make your mind relax. So Indian desert lies towards the western margins of the Aravalli Hills. You can refer the maps also for understanding the placement of every different physical feature. So this Indian desert lies towards the western margins of the Aravalli Hills, and here they do not have any rainfall, or we can say that here they face a very low rainfall, even below 150 mm per year. And the climate here is very arid climate with very low vegetation cover. There are not many rivers in these areas because the stream disappear before reaching the sea itself, and Luni is the only large river which remains somewhat throughout the year. Then you have a keyword of Burchens to learn, which are the crescent-shaped sand dunes, and they cover a large area of the Indian desert. But in the longitudinal dunes, in the longitudinal sides, most of these lie in the Indo-Pakistan boundary. So that's all was the Indian desert, and now let's start with the Peninsular Plateau, and then we'll take a small break. So Peninsular Plateau is a tableland which is composed of old crystalline and igneous and metamorphic rocks. These peninsular plateaus are formed due to the breaking and drifting of the Gondwana land, as we had seen in the case of Himalayas, and so these are one of the oldest landmass. These have broad and shallow valleys and rounded hills throughout. Then these peninsular plateaus are divided according to their area into Malwa Plateau, Central Highlands, and the Chota Nagpur Plateau and the Deccan Plateau. So firstly, about the Malwa Plateau, it's the plateau region which is lying to the north of Narmada River. Then the Central Highlands include the Malwa Plateau and the region which is covered by the Himalayan Ranges, Satpura Ranges, and the Aravalli Hills on the northwestern side. So Central Highlands are of all the plateau region of the Malwa Plateau and the plateau region lying in these three ranges also. The most important, the most common rivers flowing here are Chambal, Sindh, Betwa, Ken, and they flow from southwest to northeastern direction. So these Central Highlands are wider in west and they get narrower towards the eastern side. And in the eastern side, they have a classification into Bundelkhand and Bhagelkhand. It is a further division there. Then we have the Chota Nagpur Plateau. This includes the region, the plateau region, towards the eastward extension of the Damodar River. Now the most important, it comes about the Deccan Plateau. It is a triangular landmass, a tableland which is triangular in shape, and this lies towards the south of Narmada. Malwa Plateau was towards the north of Narmada, and this Deccan Plateau is towards the south of Narmada. It is a triangular landmass, and it is higher in the west and it slopes down gently in the east. Now here we have two important ghats, Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. The edge of the Deccan Plateau in the western side are the Western Ghats, which are parallel to the western coast, about which we'll study. And these Western Ghats are higher in height than the Eastern Ghats. Their height is about 900 to 1600 meters. And because of these Western Ghats, our India or the area receives the orographic rains because it faces the moist winds that come across them. The highest hill in the Western Ghats are Anamundi and Dhoda Beta. Now about the Eastern Ghats, that means these are the eastern edges of the Deccan Plateau and they run parallel to the eastern coast. Here the height is about 600 meters and it stretches from the Mahanadi valleys to the Nigris in the south. Eastern Ghats are very discontinuous and irregular ranges. The highest hills here are Mahendragiri, Shevori Hills and Javid Hills, which lie in the southeast directions of the Eastern Ghats. Here we can find some nice hill stations like Uti. Now in the Dekhan Plateau, we have a new concept to learn about Dekhan Trap. This is a distinct feature of the Peninsular Plateau region, where this is the black soil area. There is a volcanic origin here because of which all the igneous rocks are here and because of which it gives them a black soil, and so it is called the Dekhan Trap. So that's all for now, and we'll learn the further half of the chapter in the next video. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it. You understood all the concepts clearly. If you have any sort of doubts, if you have any sorts of suggestions, you can please comment below. Like, share and subscribe to my channel for more such videos. Thank you.